There's the moon, our beautiful, beautiful target. And we will go to full power in 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright everyone, hello then, and welcome back to another episode on Kerbal Space Program. With me, Spacefish, and welcome to the Kerbal Space Center. In the last episode, we finally finished off our quite weird space plane adventures after strapping a bajillion engines onto a single space plane to finally crush our objective for a teeny tiny little contract and be able to move on with something else. I have to say, this whole kind of space plane adventure is really taken the best of me, and I've really not enjoyed it all too much at the end, so I'm very, very glad to be back to proper space flight with rocketry and back to the launch pad for a mission then, for the main kind of storyline that goes through this entire episode like a little red string. And we're going to follow that along a bit more closely now, again, I think, focusing on the main missions to kind of move through to exploring different places and planets and moons and everything. And today our main task is going to be to have a rendezvous between two vessels around the moon, as we already previously had, but both of those will have to be manned and we'll have to transfer astronauts between those vessels, so we will take care of that one and then move on swiftly with the next bit of missions. We do already from the last episode have a missile on the launch pad, or rather a rocket on the launch pad. Let's hope we're not going to convert it into a missile to destroy the VAB or something, fingers crossed. But we're going to take off with that. We're going to make our way to the moon, get into an orbit, hopefully already also get a second rocket underway, and prepare everything for taking care of that mission. But just quickly, before we get started on that very task then, if you're new around this channel, if you happen to enjoy this episode and this series, please make sure to smash that subscribe button right down below. That will mean the absolute world to me. We're trying to hit 1k subscribers currently. There's still a good bunch to go, so every single person truly helps a ton, and thank you so much if you took care of that one. That's out of the way though. Let's go right to the launch pad, where you can see we very well actually have our missile standing. Maybe we'll have to just enter it through the tracking station. I'm not entirely sure. Looking at this, let's do a little filteroo. Or not. Oh, right, we can only toggle it off. I guess it is right here. We're going to go fly this very missile. Not a missile. Why do I keep calling it a missile? I'm not quite sure. Maybe I've played too much Star Citizen. I can assure you, Jeb and Bob, we're not trying to launch you into the VAB. At least we're going to try. Let's try not to do that, alright? We will have a quick look at the map. The moon is actually not in the worst spot for us to do a rather quick transversal burn. I hope we'll probably have to circle Kerbin once anyways. So one way or another, I think the first stage is to get into a Kerbin orbit anyways. So let's go. Thruster all the way up on the engines. SAS is on. Staging is looking good, just having a last little check over right there, everything looking quite fine. And let's light up the rocket, instantly kind of sort of lower down the power on the main stage a good bit, while we let the main boosters carry us away for a tad bit. Now this is going to be a delicate balance as usual, because we don't want to absolutely crazily overspeed, of course, while at the same time remaining maneuverable and also not ascending too slowly to the point where when the liquid fuel rocket is the only thing that remains, we cannot really lift ourselves properly out of atmosphere anymore. Also, we need to at the same time try and force the rocket ever more towards curving in so that we can actually get a little bit of an orbit going here already. If you'll remember the last time, we had burnt upwards way too much and very much ran into issues there. Now, you can see we're very much also running into the issue of being way too fast, which is soon not going to be an issue anymore. given that those rockets will be gone. Oh, don't bump into my rocket, please. Thank you. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. So, let's have a quick look maybe where we're at on the map. Okay, yeah. I think we can very much cut off this rocket against once more. Went better than the first time of launching this missile into space, this rocket into space. I don't know why I keep calling it a missile, I'm sorry. Still not ideal. We have very well overshot the minimal height to get into space of like, was it like 80, 70,000 meters? As you can see, but we do have a tad bit of a transversal velocity already going, so we're part of the way into orbit at the very least, but we have evidently kind of also overshot things a good bit. So we'll have to balance things out here. We're going to go for an orbit. We're going to make the periapsis quite low though, admittedly, because honestly we don't really need to waste any more energy than necessary, albeit, given the lunar position, I feel we will have to end up in the end putting a bit more energy into this periapsis anyways, but that is what it is. We're going to try and shoot for the orbit itself for the time being. You can see right there that we do have, let's turn on the RCS, which apparently we don't have any RCS fuel with us. Very helpful when you have RCS thrusters but no RCS fuel. I may have forgotten to adjust that in the rocket construction after the last time then. You can see 1 minute and 18 seconds of a burn time, 2 minutes and 29 seconds till the node, so we do have a minute anyways to align. We will one way or another have to see about the fuel. Let's hope that it's going to be fine. Let's hope so. I know it was a bit of a stretch the last time around, and we had a very much atmosphere break into Kerbin, so we'll see. It's going to be a stretch once more. Hopefully, not too much of a stretch this time around. But, 2 minutes and 1 minute and 18 of a burn time, so we will take about 39 seconds on either side of the node to get there. Let's go. And speed up time a tad bit, so we get a bit closer to that very mark. Oh god, that was close actually. And 39, max thrust right there. Now we will have to keep that very rocket on for another 1 minute and 14 seconds, using up a whole lot of our liquid fuel. Not all of the stage in the process, but a good bunch. So, well, you know, let's see how well we get on with the fuel. I'm a bit skeptical, as you may be able to tell. Fingers crossed that's going to go all fine. The one question here is going to be on our contract, and we can maybe already bring up the contracts at least, because we do have a little bit of a burn time still ahead, where we do have to exchange the crew. Okay, so it does have to be near the moon, which is something to keep in mind. If it wouldn't be near the moon, you know, we could save ourselves some energy by just going for a very high orbit or something, but we will have to go quite far down. How far? I don't know. I think we will probably just try and on multiple orbits go for some retrograde burns until we are as close to the moon as we need to be, so we kind of use the minimal amount of fuel possible to fulfill our target, if that makes sense. In the meanwhile, we're quite close to our target orbital velocity here. Still got about 1,200 meters of fuel left. That was the camera turning as a sign that we are now in a proper orbit, and we should be good. We are at a periapsis of 81,000 meters. Absolutely beautiful. That is the first leg of our mission then complete. Now, next thing is going to be we're going to have to plan our transversal burn to the moon. How much debris we've already got flying around there, it's quite incredible. I can assure you there's going to be more piling up there over the course of this playthrough. Now, with that out of the way, we will have to, first things first, actually play around here a bit with our burn point in order to lower this periapsis as much as possible. As you can see, we don't have enough energy in this yet one way or another, but we can bring the periapsis closer or further based on where we start the burn. So the exact timing of the burn is actually going to be very, very important in terms of saving us every little bit of fuel. We went through this a little bit on the last time already, so we will not go through it in detail again. But we're going to try something a little like that. Now, we don't technically need to put that much effort in for a start. The question more is, though, once we get there, how much energy would it otherwise cost us? It's probably better, to be fair. I think it is probably better to actually go as close as we can at this point, because a little adjustment in orbit here, like a little adjustment in power spent, and that is something that we maybe didn't touch on that much here, a little adjustment in power spent here will, by a minute bit, change this trajectory, but given how much of an effect it will have the further you get out, every tad bit of energy spent here will be more efficient on our periapsis than when we spend it on the moon, because when we get to the moon, lowering that periapsis will take us more energy than it will take us now by getting there with as low as a periapsis as possible. Now, of course, we'll have to close this thing, but that's another topic, because technically, the orbit doesn't have to be even on both sides. We could come in at 30,000 meters on the one hand side, and then 120,000 on the other hand side. What will be difficult on that one, though, will be actually sinking the orbits on both rockets, so that is probably going to be an issue, and why we cannot end up doing things just the way we want to. But that is our maneuver then, 848 meters a second. That goes to show you just how much better we actually did this time around, because even there in the first stage we will still have 300 meters a second left, which is beautiful, because I'm quite sure that the last time we already used up part of the last stage to get to the moon, and this time we won't. So I'm not quite entirely sure I'm remembering that correctly, but I think I pretty well am. Let me know down below in the comments if you know, of course. One way or another, this will be the plan. 33 minutes to spool past real quick, and then, whoa, jeez, that was fast. We will have to go for our burn. So burn time is 40 seconds, which means 20 seconds on either end of the node. We'll go down to about a minute, and we'll take a tad few seconds to actually adjust our alignment right here, and then we can go a bit faster in time once more. So that was one entire orbit of Kerbal along the way. There's the moon, our beautiful, beautiful target, and we will go to full power in 4, 3, 2, 1, and off we shoot to the moon once more with Jeb and Bob. I absolutely love that you're actually directly burning at the moon whenever you're going for it. You can kind of see your target in the distance already, or always really enjoying that one. The beautiful thing about us having all this thrust in one stage as well is that we don't have any insecurities about burn time, because I mean, the engine in the other stage, of course, has less power, but we have less weight, so it would totally screw over the time calculation here. This way, it's all nice and straightforward, and we can actually somewhat rely on what we see there. Now, we're going to stop about here. We're going to fine-tune so we can make sure to kind of be as close as possible to what we calculated, basically. 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And now, if we get rid of the maneuver, we will have a periapsis of 52k, and that's 33. We'll take the 33. I think that's the good plan. Beautiful. So, maneuver can get going, which we will do through here, because somehow that's still the only way that we can actually remove the maneuver. And we are well underway to the moon. Absolutely beautiful, I would say. Everything according to plan for the time being. Now, the interesting part will actually be closing the periapsis around the moon. We only have 329 meters a second left in the stage. I'm not sure if that's going to be enough. If it is, absolutely beautiful. We will not have a worry in the world about fuel, and I'm very much hoping that'll be the case. But we'll see. We will see about that very factor. For the time being, one way or another, this will take about a day till we get there. So, you know, let's just fast forward this good thing a bit. We could have, to be quite fair, already started 2 rockets into Kerbal atmosphere, or into Kerbal orbit rather, and just more or less simultaneously burn them over to kind of align the periapses, but We'll not go too crazy on this stuff. I think we'll just go like this and adjust one orbit after another. Don't need to overdo things in terms of timing. There's the moon, by the way. Very well headed over there. Kerbin's already way off in the distance right there, as you can see. And we should very soon have the orbit speed swap to that on the moon. So that is beautiful. We're still far way off, but this will allow us to add a maneuver already. Well, actually, maybe focus the camera on the moon. Then we'll add a maneuver at our periapses, and for the time being, we will literally only close it in like that. And be done with it. I know 1.7 millimeters, etc., etc., but we won't make this orbit too tight. For the time being, we'll see how close we can get the orbit of the other rocket to this one. Because honestly, if we get it quite close, we don't need to get that orbit down all that much. Which, you know, also, I guess, depends on how much fuel we're going to spend. Because honestly, I mean, technically, you know, we're at 77 meters a second of fuel spent. Should we just... I think we're at least going to close it in a bit more. We're not going to overdo it like crazy. But we've got 330 meters a second in that stage. So, at least getting things to like 160k so the rocket moves a bit slower in orbit in general is fine. We will still have a lot of fuel left in that, and I'm quite happy with that. So, burn happening then in 46 minutes, which is still a minute out. Kind of interested also to see how much money we even get from this, given all the money we spent on the rocket. I'm not even sure how economical this contract is right here, but that shall be fine. For the time being, that was a bit fast, and I almost jumped. I was very worried that we were going to miss our burn timer there for a second. Never go over the burn timer. Very, very bad idea. Unless you quick save before then, which maybe we're going to do, just in case, you know. Just in case. That is not a good idea. Anyways, we're 2 minutes ahead, and I'm already going to stop right here because, of course, our RCS isn't working. We don't have any RCS fuel with us, which is a bit of an issue. Maybe we'll we'll change that quickly on the second iteration of this rocket that we're most certainly going to send to space soon as well, before we actually take that off as well into space. But due to that modality, we're just going to kind of take things a little slower here, because of course the rocket is kind of not turning all too quickly and rather unresponsive, so it does, as you can see, actually take us quite a minute to align. Now, don't mind these things turning. I mean, they still turn in space. Don't really do anything up here. But in atmosphere, they were most certainly quite helpful. So, that is going to be our alignment. Only 7 seconds of a burn time, so we can start like 4-ish seconds ahead of time. Let's get a bit closer to that. Which will... Hello, moon, by the way. Absolutely beautiful, as usual. Which will be about here. Are we in a low lunar orbit? We will find out in a second. For the time being, let's wait for the timer. 4. And we will adjust the rest slowly but surely. 3, 2, 1, and 0. Beautiful. That's pretty much exactly the orbit we wanted. I'm very, very happy with that. And I hope you all are as well, of course. Let us take a quick report, though, from the crew capsule to see our altitude above the moon, which is right here. Space near the moon. Beautiful. Now, the one thing that I actually want to check before sending the other crew up here is where space near the moon ends. So we're going to time warp a bit, and we're going to do another report at 40k. And we're going to do another at 50, so we do have about an idea what sort of time window we have in order to transfer crew here. So, crew report, still near the moon. Beautiful. Then we have 50k. Crew report, still near the moon. Okay, so that's honestly a good bit of time there already. But we're going to continue onwards until we are not near the moon anymore. I mean, at this rate, either it has gone now. High over the moon. Okay, so 50k-ish is where it ends. 50 to 60k. We'll have to see if that's enough for us. If not, honestly, I mean, we can lower the periapsis of this orbit a tad bit, of course, to close things in and give us a bit more time. We'll see. But we have about an idea now, at least, where we can pull off this maneuver. That said, let's leave these guys out here. Let's go back to the Space Center then and prepare for the second mission. Because, of course, we need 2 rockets underway to get all this stuff solved for us. So, what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the rocket again in the space hangar. It was the Lunar Magic. I'm quite sure it was the Mark II, so we're going to load that. And we're going to go and actually slap some fuel onto here, which, you know, I feel is going to be kind of helpful. Also, I do remember us taking this part off, because we don't really need any science, and it was just a waste of money. So I cannot imagine why in the world I did not remember to slap on some sort of RCS tank here. Even if it's just a small one like that. I mean, RCS is so helpful. That is a fuel tank. That is not an RCS tank. Not sure what I'm thinking there. Where are the RCS tanks? Were they somewhere else, potentially? Fuel. Oh yeah, RCS was... the only RCS we had wasn't these things, right? Yeah, okay. I mean, we can get that. That's fine. Slap that on there. Slap a little bit of that on there. And you know, that's a bit of monopropellant fuel, I think. How much do we have now? Where's the overview? The overview is... technically somewhat down there, isn't it? I guess not. Where in the world is the fuel overview? Help? I'm actually not sure. Well, this thing gives us 20... yeah, honestly, I mean, this is like 20... how many did we do? Did we do 5? Did we do 4? We did 4. So 80 units of monopropellant should get us through. I mean, honestly, worst case, we'll just slowly work on that, but that's totally fine. 800 bucks spent on that. That's going to be the second rocket then, and we'll need crew members, of course. Now, we did get... oh yeah, no, we did get Bob, which is not the engineer, so we did get the right person on the other flight this time around. Bob will have to go over to Valentina, because she's our only other pilot. We will not bring Bill. We will keep an empty seat. Important thing to remember. Because, of course, we need to transfer crew, so some seat needs to be empty. Otherwise, we're going to have to juggle 2 Kerbals back and forth, which doesn't really make the job easier. So, checking the contracts real quick, we only need to transfer any crew. So, that should be fine. We will go to launch this very thing. Already. We'll put it on the launch pad and we'll confirm in the mission overview that this is the way that things need to go before we actually, you know, mess up. So, Valentina in there, no second Kerbal, important point. We will go to the Space Center and we'll go to the detailed mission overview real quick just so we can see the actual contract with all its little ins and outs before it tells us, you know, any modalities that we're not quite aware of just yet. So, objectives. Crew that have been cooped up for too long start. Yeah. We want to make sure that doesn't happen around the moon. Transfer doesn't tell us anymore. Any crew between vessels. Okay, so we're going to transfer any crew. Which means I want to actually just try out one thing. Just to make sure. Before we send a rocket up there that we don't need to send. Maybe we can trick the game. You know, you know me. I need to try and trick the game, alright? I'm sorry. That's just me. We need to try and trick the game before we do it the proper way. Okay? So, what we're going to try and do is we will go to a low orbit again. Because honestly, I mean, before we spend the money on an entire other rocket, we may as well give this a try. So, this is already low space, isn't it? Double check. Yes, well, space near. What happens if I EVA Jeb? I let go. Turn the RCS on. Totally forget about the flight controls again. Grab. And board again. Okay. It was worth a try, alright? It was worth a try. Before we send off anything that we don't need to pay the money for. We tried to play the game. The game didn't allow us to play it, so well, at least not in that way. So we will go and revert to the old methods. So yeah, the rocket's set up. We've got a person in there. Next task will be shooting this thing up to the moon, rendezvousing, getting a person over. That's the mission, and actually getting everyone back. So, probably another episode or two, so we've got that done. But, very much looking forward to that. I do suspect that it should now be going a bit faster, that we've actually done this another time, and I actually got all the plans, and, well, have people at the altitude. So, yeah, looking forward to that. We're going to go do that in the next episode. I hope you all enjoyed everything we did for today, though. As usual, if you did, please make sure to smash that like button down below. That does always help out a ton with the video performance. And if you're new around here and haven't done so just yet, also please consider subscribing right down below, as well as hitting that bell icon, in order to stay up to date on all the future upcoming episodes. But with all that out of the way then, and the beautiful, beautiful Spacefish flag wiggling in the wind, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I hope I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao.